Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Today we will speak about the last industrial ecosystem that we had to analyze of the 14, the retail one. And in order to analyze this ecosystem, we will have Pauline Burr from DigiGrow. But as yet, we have her online, I think. Pauline, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning. I'm there. I just joined. I'm trying to turn the camera on. So yes, I'm there. Good morning.
Thank you. Welcome. Perfect. We will wait for you, okay? While we wait, just let me remind you that we had 14 industrial ecosystems. We have been analyzing the limits, what is included in every one of them, and also the links, the main links between them, okay? The idea is that clusters can participate on them, in fact are participating on them mostly, but we can improve our linkage with the action, the priorities, and the goals of the different areas, okay? And so we want to explore that. And as I said before, we have with us Pauline Burr, and she will introduce us to the ecosystem. Should I give you the presentation rights, Pauline?
Yes, please. I have some slides, so I would be happy, of course, to show them to you.
Wonderful. Let me. I think that you should have them now.
Okay, so let me see if I can choose what I can share. Okay. I hope that you can
Not
see
yet.
it.
Now,
Not
yes,
yet.
but
Okay.
not yes. Now we see your screen, but it's not in presentation mode.
Ah.
So yes.
Okay.
Switch
I
there.
don't know what I should.
No, I think it's in display settings where you were before. Display settings. Yes. Open swap, please.
Ah, okay.
Try that. Yes, now it's perfect.
Okay, now it's better. Okay.
Thank you very much, Pauline.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Paulina Gubur. I work in unit dealing with retail and online services in DigiGrow in the European Commission. And we also have, so my head of unit, Damir Hajduk, is joining us as well. And also my colleague, James Brett, is there. So there are three of us happy to explain more and answer your possible questions, of course. So maybe to start briefly, as Antonio mentioned, retail ecosystem is one of the 14 ecosystems, industrial ecosystems that have been identified at the beginning of the year in spring, when we started talking about recovery and about the new generation EU recovery funds. And in DigiGrow, we have proposed that those recovery efforts should focus on the 14 ecosystems that we found important. And the idea of industrial ecosystems has appeared in the industrial strategy this year, but it's not a very new concept. It's something that has been there before. So retail and wholesale are one of those 14 ecosystems. In our understanding, the boundaries of the retail ecosystem, we would define like there are core businesses that we would classify as retail ecosystem. So it's retailers, of course, big and small, and online and offline. So all companies that sell final goods to consumers, and wholesale, but those parts of wholesale that are directly relevant for retailers. So, for example, we didn't take into account wholesale selling livestock or machinery. So we focused on wholesale selling final goods that can be then resold to consumers. So this is the core of the retail ecosystem. But we also understand, because it's an ecosystem, so of course we understand it more broadly. And there are other elements that are very important. For example, the suppliers of the goods, so the producers of those goods, the academia, research institutes, also online platforms that are selling both their goods, but also that help retailers sell their offer to consumers. Financial services, transportation services are also part of this ecosystem, real estate, but also local, regional, national governments are very important with the rules that they are setting. And of course, consumers. Consumers are an essential part of the retail ecosystem. So what it means in numbers, we have 4.4 million companies according to Eurostat in this core retail ecosystem, and they employ over 21 million people, so direct employment. But of course, when you look more broadly and you look at employment in all the other parts of economy that are closely linked with the retail ecosystem, it's of course much more. 99% of retail companies are SMEs. So very often these are, the small family shops that, or a bit bigger shops that are part of the retail ecosystem. When we look at the share of value added or employment, of course, it's the big companies that gain this share in those terms. But when we look at purely the number of companies, it's mainly SMEs. As you can imagine, and as you of course know, in the COVID crisis, so starting from March, retailers have encountered significant problems, and wholesalers as well. So in particular, non-grocery retail that was closed in March, in April, shops have encountered huge drops in their turnover. Also, wholesale sales had problems because the non-grocery wholesale sales were also stopped, and the grocery ones, to some extent, were stopped because HoReCa didn't work. And those that were selling, that the products that they had on offer were not immediately suitable to be sold in shops. So of course, they also had big problems in grocery wholesale. Shops had liquidity problems. Those that could remain open had larger operational costs because they had to ensure security measures to consumers. They had to put in disinfectants and masks and things like that. And what is very important for the retail ecosystem, consumers' confidence dropped. So consumers started, well, of course, they had to buy groceries, and they bought, at the beginning, they bought much more groceries than before. But with time, the shopping of consumers became more stable in terms of groceries, and in terms of non-groceries, consumers just refrained from shopping because they are aware of possible economic problems that they might have in the future. So of course they are trying to save. So there is an important decrease in consumer confidence, and it might last for quite some time now. Some estimated it might be for 1 year or more. And what is very important now in the recovery is the need for the retail ecosystem, but not only for this ecosystem. I'm sure you have heard it also before in relation to other ecosystems, that in the recovery, what is important is the need to invest in green and digital solutions. So these are the priorities for the EU, and also for the EU companies to become more resilient for future shocks. Here you can see in a very illustrative way what happened to the retail trade volume according to Eurostat data. And of course, now retail is slowly becoming, well, is slowly getting again some increases, monthly increases compared to the same period last year. But now with the second wave, shops are closing again, so we can expect again some negative developments. So as I mentioned, the recovery for retail is very important, and when you look at some Commission estimates that were published in May, together with the New Generation EU, among all 14 ecosystems, when you look at the basic investment gap from all 14, retail, the gap that would fall for retail is 15%. So it's the second largest gap, just after tourism. So it's estimated that retailers and wholesalers might really have problems with investment for the future. And apart from the green and digital transition, the investments that are needed and the reforms that are needed in this sense, and the resilience building, what of course we see from the policy making perspective is the role of the single market as a key driver for this recovery that is happening. So of course, it's important that the single market works without disruptions and that actually it becomes even more integrated to allow for a better uptake of the digital and green solutions, and to allow for a better resilience building of the retail ecosystem, but also other ecosystems. So in this sense, we are looking into the follow-up to the industrial strategy, and maybe announced a new strategy next year. We are looking into the barriers to the single market that have been there, but also some new barriers that might emerge, and they do emerge in some countries from time to time. So we are also monitoring this, and we are also following up on our hitherto work on retail, work that started before the COVID crisis, and for which the single market is a very important element. Probably you have also, I'm sure you have seen, the funds that and the possibilities that are going to be made available for member states, and indirectly, hopefully, for businesses through the recovery funds. And when we look at it, of course, it's very important that retailers and wholesalers would be among those companies, those businesses that should benefit from those funds. So our role here in the Commission, but also role of all national associations of retailers and wholesalers, is to promote the message to member states that they, in their recovery and resilience plans that they are drafting now, showing how they would use the support that will be provided by the EU, that in those plans, retail and wholesale and companies in general, commercial operators, could benefit from solutions or from some schemes that would be developed that would help such companies digitalize, that would help them become more sustainable and more resilient. So this is what we are focusing on together with retail associations. And our policy on retail that has been developed for the last years is focusing on possible reforms that can support the retail companies, and focusing on the single market, as I mentioned before. So what we did, an important step for us, was a retail communication that was adopted by the Commission in 2018. And in this communication, it's an important Commission document. It's not legislative, but it is. It was, of course, supported by the whole Commission. In this communication on retail, we wanted to share best practices about best practices for regulatory approaches to retail. So we've been looking into restrictions, regulatory restrictions, so requirements, conditions that are in rules in different member states that govern opening of shops, but also operating of shops. So, for example, rules saying where large shops can be located, whether they can. In some countries, large retail is not allowed outside city centers. In some countries, there are, for example, more stringent requirements for larger shops than for small shops. There are some permits or authorizations required, some specific impact assessments to be delivered. Then there are requirements according to referring to the opening hours or some specific taxes for retail. So there are different. The regulatory framework is really different across the countries, and we looked into this in 2018. And in this communication, we have presented those restrictions that we found for retailers. And the idea with this communication was to guide member states and encourage them to carry out reforms that would actually lower those restrictions, because we have also seen with some economic evidence that reducing such restrictions to retail establishment and to retail operations can help retailers become more competitive and more innovative, and indirectly can also bring benefits to consumers. In this, so this is also the retail restrictiveness indicator that we developed to this end, which shows what is the restrictiveness level in different countries. So we could see that for establishments, the most restrictive were Italy, Luxembourg, Cyprus. In operations, it was France, Spain, and Romania, according to the elements that we focused on. And together with the retail communication, we have also in 2018 we also published a guide for revitalizing and modernizing the small retail sector. So focusing on how local authorities can support their local small retailers become more digital, become more innovative, and also become more attractive to consumers. And this guide is looking into best practices again that were collected across the EU. I think over 200 such good examples have been identified. And those good practices are local initiatives that bring together retailers, but also other operators in a given area, in a city center, let's say. So this could be hairdressers, cafes, restaurants that all operate in the same area, and they form together. So I would understand that this might be something like a natural cluster. So they form together a community or some kind of cooperation, and they work together on promoting the city center as a place for visitors, for consumers, as an attractive place for people to come and to do their shopping. Very often they develop their identity, they have their logo, they have their business plan, they have their promotion activities. So the guide that we published in 2018 shows step by step what local authorities could do to support retail and also to promote these best practices. And this guide, we organized some workshops targeting local authorities, 3 workshops now in October, and 4 workshops last year. So I must say that there was a lot of interest for those events, and people found them really useful to be able to exchange practices and to learn from the others. And yeah, I wanted just to mention 2 examples to you that also were present at our last workshops. and what they do also in the COVID times. So, for example, Hub Brussels is an organization that supports Brussels businesses. They have developed a series of TV shows explaining to small retailers and other companies that are present in Brussels how to, for example, how to set up online presence, how to become visible online, how to start selling online even. So this was something that they quickly developed when they saw that the situation is becoming really difficult for retailers in their area. They are also offering some coaching and tailor-made really support to businesses that want to develop. And another initiative, Let's Shop EU. It's an online platform that actually allows small operators in Luxembourg to be present online and to present their offer in this combined online environment together with other companies. And they collaborate in terms of data aggregation and exchange. And we heard from Luxembourg that actually the interest in this platform increased importantly during COVID. So many more small companies joined this platform now because they just realized that actually it's the way to survive basically in the when they had to close their shops or when they faced smaller consumer traffic. So well, in a summary, the retail ecosystem, it's retailers, big, small, online, offline, but also wholesalers that sell goods to retailers, but also consumers that spend, 30% of household budgets is spent in retail, and financial services, logistics services, governments, academia. So this is how we understand the retail ecosystem. What are the priorities for this ecosystem now? It's of course recovery. So of course survival and recovery, becoming resilient, becoming more green, becoming more digital. And here I think it's an open question to all of us today. What is the link between the retail ecosystem and clusters? Because to be honest, in our policy work, we have not. It's now a kind of fresh, a new idea for us to look at clusters, and we want to understand better. And we would be happy to also help you understand better how retail and clusters can cooperate and what are the opportunities there, how clusters can support retailers in becoming more innovative and stronger. To what extent retail is already present in clusters, to what extent from your experience you have already such links established. So yeah, we have a lot of questions also to ask to you and to discuss today. We've heard that there has already been a lot of cooperation. For example, now in COVID, when some retailers in one of the clusters had problems with plexiglass, and thanks to the cluster cooperation and quick reaction, this plexiglass has been found, and they could install it in their shops. So there is for sure some cooperation there, but we would be happy to understand more, and maybe also dwell on this analogy between clusters and those local initiatives for retail and city center businesses that I understand form a kind of natural clusters. So thank you very much for your attention, and of course, please ask questions that you would have. And of course, I would also invite Damir, my head of unit, to explain or to complement what I have said. Thank you.
You are very welcome, Pauline. Merci beaucoup. And yes, I don't know if Damir will participate now, if possible.
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Pauline, if you don't mind, sorry, Pauline, if you don't mind, keep the screen with your slide, because I think it's perfect for the discussion.
Okay. I think I just did I just stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I think I'll
Sorry,
try
Damir.
again then. Sorry.
Sorry, Damir, please continue, because I think it's important. It's a very, very good slide to discuss about it.
Yes, I apologize for coming in a couple of minutes late. This is the first time I'm using this GoToMeeting, and it seems I did not give access to my camera, so I have problems also to switch on my camera. Sorry. But yes, I mean, I think our presentation is informative, and Paulina explained or presented the ecosystem well, and I can only agree. We're here to also establish these links and see how clusters can help retail ecosystem and vice versa. So identifying these links, I think, is the first step, as Paulina put it, and yeah, just we would like to hear more examples or ideas, exchange information. How do you work? Have you been in contact with the retailers? They are also in kind of transformation today. So retailers are no longer just retailers. They provide also their own brands. So they are in kind of food production, but also some of them have their own brands in say electronics, like Euronics. I don't know that they put out their own products, which are then sold globally. So the transformation also is happening in the wholesale sector. Wholesalers are becoming consultants in technology. We have good examples in electrical equipment. So what is green today and what is green tomorrow very frequently are topics that are covered for the SMEs and for example, construction ecosystem by wholesalers, not the companies themselves who really are installing these materials and equipment into their buildings, and also they provide services in consulting to architects and the local government. So it's far-reaching, this ecosystem of retail, and it's big, as Paulina gave you the numbers in terms of employment, also the turnover. So I'm quite certain you have come across retail ecosystem in some form or shape in your clusters. So please share any thoughts or ideas. Thank you.
You are very welcome, Damir. So thank you to both of you, Paulina, and I am sure that we have a lot of questions, comments, and samples. So how can we work together? I can give you some ideas, but I prefer just to open now the floor for the rest of the attendants and see if there are comments or questions from them. I see one from Nina. Nina?
Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Paulina, for the very informative presentation. I'm from the cluster ED and ICT cluster here in Spain. And you mentioned in the ecosystem online platform, online sales is part of the ecosystem, but also that the digital transformation is as one of the European priorities, but it also is one for this ecosystem in particular. And that's why I wanted to ask, to what extent do you think this ecosystem is already digitalized, and where in this ecosystem is the most potential also for the digital transformation?
Yes, I think it's a very good question. So I would say maybe starting from the current level of digitalization, I think it's not the highest, it's not the most innovative sector that you would imagine. We know that when we look at the Digital Economy and Society Index, the DESI index in Eurostat, only around 20% of small and medium companies, they actually sell something online. So it's there is still a lot of potential there, and there is a lot of potential for small companies to benefit from digitalization, but not only from being present in the internet and selling through the internet, but from digitalization in general. And you were asking about where this most potential could be. I would say that there should be a lot of potential in, for example, stock management area, in their customer management, in some data analysis, because small companies, small retailers, they very often just don't look into the data that they could actually collect themselves from their own sales, and also, you know, with other retailers have some kind of aggregated data that would offer them some benchmark, so that they could understand their situation better, they could understand their target audience better. So I would say that here there should also be a lot of potential. So coming from being present online, selling online, participating in online platforms and other channels to reach consumers, to this back office digitalization, so helping them with digital tools to better manage the stock, to better manage their customer database, and to better manage their, you know, marketing messages based on that, and of course to improve their data analytics possibilities. But you know, it's also a question to others today. Maybe you would see some potential that from your perspective, from the offer that that companies in your clusters have, that could also be supportive to retail and wholesale.
We have been working a lot in that field with our cluster members. You know, it's business intelligence, business data representation, and data analytics critical part. And I am sure that you are fully right on what you say, and with the proper tools, the decisions are far better. Vasco, have you cluster worked in that field? Bon dia, Vasco.
Good morning. Just takes some time to
activate
the micro. Yes, in fact, a few years ago we had a project focus on retail, and so some of our partners are also working on that area. But I think the main problem is, in fact, the small ones. And in Portugal, there is a program that incentivizes the small ones to create online shops. And there has been a big effort, even before the COVID, in order to have a presence on the internet, and that was increased during the last times.
Yes, actually, we have even heard from the Portuguese authorities about those initiatives and about the support and about opening of an online platform, for example, in Lisbon to help companies there start selling online. So yeah, so it's an important point that you mentioned. It's a good practice actually that should be or could be followed by others.
Yeah, there is in fact an association devoted to electronic commerce, and so they are pushing strongly for the small ones, because the big ones, okay, they have the means, they have the tools, they have the resources, and so it's easier for even to find some contacts with the universities in order to upgrade what they have already. But small ones are more difficult.
And the problem in online shopping is that it's very, very difficult to position your business on the internet, fighting against the big players. Meaning, we don't need to refer to Amazon. There are very big platforms, national platforms or European platforms that have many resources and invest them. So in my opinion, it's not only to open a shop, it's just to help them to keep it at the highest level possible.
Yes, Antonio, can I make a question to Pauline? A very short question. Pauline, one of the aspects that I think it's very important now in this crisis with COVID is the way that the big retail companies and the small companies, the groceries coexist in terms of giving the products and service to the people. How do you see this coexistence within this pandemic between the big retailers and the small shops, and what kind of innovation the small shops can do in order to maintain their activity and their role with the crisis?
Yes, I think it is again a very valid question, and you know, the work that we've been doing for years, it's really also focusing on how to bring together, how to reconcile those different interests, yeah? Because we see how the market develops as well, and in our understanding, we would see all types of retailers important. So it is important to have big retailers because they can offer a specific offer to consumers. There's a broader range of products. Often the prices are attractive for consumers, and consumers actually, you know, they vote with their footfall, so they vote with their choice of where they want to shop. So big shops are very, very important. On the other hand, of course, small shops are also very important because of their role in the society, because of their role for employment, because of their role also as proximity retail services. And this actually shows in the COVID crisis, there is a huge increase in, at least from you know, the ad hoc data that is available, there is an increase in consumer interest in those smaller corner shops, because very often consumers consider them as safer, and just you know, if they want to buy just 3 items, they would not go to a big shop where they risk meeting more people. They are happy to go to their local shop. And of course, there's again the more personal relation with the shopkeeper, which is also appreciated by consumers. So I think we are consumers, you know, they, on the one hand, they are of course getting more interested in online shopping because of the possibilities it offers, but on the other hand, they still appreciate, and I think there is also a trend that is increasing, to shop locally, to have closer relations with local businesses, and to also appreciate shorter value chains. So to have to shop for products that come from the area, to support local crafts or producers. So I would believe that all of this can coexist, and because of the different needs that different businesses address, and the role of the role of decision makers or policymakers would be to create a business environment that actually would make it possible for the coexistence of different types of businesses and different business models. So, for example, when we look at the retail restrictions, they very often, or they mostly address big retailers, okay, because they have a bigger impact on the area, or but we would believe that it's not through restricting big retail that you can. This is not the only way for authorities or for governments to support small ones. We believe that the support to the small ones should go through support measures, not through restrictions. So through creating the environment that would, for example, promote a more holistic approach, bringing small retail together with other service providers, with cultural services, with HoReCa, and to support this kind of initiatives that would help them exist without, closing bigger shops in the suburbs. So this would be. This is how we would see the coexistence. And of course, innovation would be very, very important here, because when we talk about small retailers, it doesn't mean that they have to remain, traditional and no, they need to innovate as well. And I think many understood it now in the COVID crisis, and this is why they joined initiatives, the platforms like Let's Shop in Luxembourg or others, because they understood that they have to invest their time and effort in this innovation to survive, basically. And I think we also saw some data provided by GfK looking at, like, comparing small retailers that were selling only in physical shops with those that were also selling online. And of course, in the COVID crisis, those that developed this omni-channel distribution, they had much more bigger chances to sustain their turnover or to survive.
Thank you, Pauline.
Can I just add a couple of words to this? What I wanted also to say that for small retailers, the problem is also the skills. Obviously, the digital skills, upskilling of SME retail is something that we are trying to push towards member states to include in their recovery plans for greening and digitalization regarding the recovery fund. So what is also important is, okay, you are online, but nobody knows that you are there. So this findability of, I mean, you are present, but you are the only one who knows that you are out there. So there is this need for education of SMEs also about the use of social media, and there needs to be this link with the local government established, because the numbers don't allow the investment of a small retailer in such marketing that would bring him findability, visibility online. So we saw some good practice with the local governments providing this cooperation. So they form like a community websites with all the shops on one website, so people know this website. From there they can go and find the local shop. So it's I think also a good role of this public authority. So this cooperation in terms of public-private partnership is important. Also, after you sell, then there is the question of getting the money and the delivery. Now these are the segments also that need to be improved. So, for example, of course, you need to invest in this contactless electronic payment solution for your retail shop, and some kind of delivery. Now, while the big retailers, they can maybe organize their own delivery services, the small retailers, they are opting for the click and collect. Now elderly, they don't know how to click, so we have seen I think in Spain, the initiatives SMS and collect or WhatsApp and collect. So this is very important that people know that this service is provided, so that they can order and then come to pick it up, because of course then the turnover, the package, the price of the good does not allow a margin that is that could cover the cost of small retailer delivering the good to the door of the consumer. So these are the 2 points that I wanted to add. Just thank you.
I can tell you that logistics is one of the biggest area of activity on clusters, for sure. And we have excellent clusters on logistics, probably the best ones in fact, it's a mix between the logistic main cluster, European clusters, and the association. They are very close, okay? And they have been critical during the crisis, in fact, okay? And speaking about digitalization, I think that the concept of proximity, the local proximity, should be also transferred to the internet one, okay? And we need to think, we have been working on that. I know references on that point, but the main problem is the trust of the population, okay? Because it's that we need to make people trust in small shops in internet, and that is not so easy. And for that, I know references on labels, or quality labels for the shops on internet. But it's something that we need to explore. And I can give you one concrete reference of a program that we developed in our cluster for helping dealers to learn how to interact with the clients. And Pauline mentioned CRM. That's critical for them. They need to know, they need to register the client, they need to know how to contact them very quickly, to how to answer, how to measure what is happening. And we introduced one system to measure and to let them know if they were quick enough in answering, or if they left people without answer the request by WhatsApp or whatever. Okay, so there is this is one field where clusters are working, and in fact there are references on contribution or actual working with the retail ecosystem. I will ask Felix Arion from Romania. Do you have references on that field? Hi, Felix. I don't know if Felix is there. Okay, we will wait for Felix later. Any other comment or question? I see that Marie-Laurence Drillon is making comments. Marie-Laurence?
Yes, hello everybody. Sorry, I had a problem with the chat. I just would like to ask Paulina whether she could communicate us the conclusions of the events that the Commission organized in October. And before, she mentioned 4 different events, I think. So I would like to know a little bit more about them, if it's possible. Thank you.
Yes, sure. We could make it. So I would maybe the way would be to send the links and you know the information to Antonio, and then yes, we could count on sharing this with the clusters. Yes, we do have some reports from the previous year's event. This year we are still putting them together because they just happened, so it's pretty fresh. But of course, yes, we would be happy to share with you the information about those local initiatives that emerge across Europe.
If you have one link, you could share it now in the chat if you want, okay? Or please send me later the link, but you can use the chat if you want.
I'll try to do it, yeah.
Okay, any other comment, question? Marek, what do you think from your unit?
Yes. Okay.
Hello, welcome, Marek.
Good morning, and thank you, colleagues from Retail Unit. Can you see me? No. It's
no.
Probably some. Yeah, okay. Now, yeah. Thank you very much for this. When I look at all our meetings, and in fact in retail we have one of the last coming, but I think the very important role of clusters which can bring added value to this is at the crossroads of ecosystems, because here when you see the retail, and Paulina, if you can see retail ecosystem, the structure, the slide before, when you show the logistics, warehouses, small retail, so you go across, and exactly like the question of digital clusters which could help in digitization, we have there is a big role in disruption of supply chains, yeah, so diversification of in supply, but who is delivering and how. So we have the greening and mobility coming into the picture. So we have mobility clusters to play a role here. We have then for renewable energy, definitely the role, if we take into account the further greening retail. So this is the same for skills. Yeah? We are talking about reskilling and upskilling capacities in here, and knowledge, I mean, in clusters, so that they can digitalizing or awareness raising of what kind of possible greening solutions can be in retail, small retail, particularly SMEs, and big retails. When we take into account construction as well, the whole design of constructions in retail, from big warehouses for big sales galleries to small, it's all in changing. Yeah? We see some countries where the big malls are now not so popular, so it's like coming back to small proximity, and in all of this you need to have as well construction design classes. So across all ecosystems, the clusters can play a role in giving added value for retail clusters. And new phenomenon which we heard discussions on retail ecosystem from logistics, for example, then the proximity, yeah, and in the you remember in April when we had panic because there was no delivery, shops were closed. Suddenly it was shortened the supply chain from producer directly to consumer, and then who you need to have some services providing this link of taking food from producer to directly to consumer. market reacted. Yeah? We see more and more people going into the market of delivery and shortening, new actors coming to the play. So a huge role of all the clusters across in order to contribute to the retail system. But and of course, as we had, we can dig out all these disruptions that we had identified during COVID sessions in retail. But I think it's not finished. Yeah, it's not finished, and we have the COVID now, more and more lockdown coming. Who knows if we don't come back to the spirit of emergency and helping and identifying disruptions again, and then getting clusters to detect again what are the issues in each of the ecosystem. So bearing this in mind, one is still unfortunately potential to play the detection role of clusters in emergency, when we had it fantastically in spring, but as well still in this transition of retail into more greener, more digital and resilient. And resilient is about disruption of supply chains. Yeah? This was the main issue, and I think in retail still there is many were able to jump into this digital selling, digital. They were able to change their business models, but many were not, and many went bankrupt. It was interesting what Paulina, you said. You showed the V in retail. I think you can have U, you can have L. It depends how it works. In retail, it showed V, but now with lockdowns, I mean, V can flatten as well. So
it will be a W.
Or it will be W, yeah. So people will be coming back and looking for how to reach the customers and shorten the chain as well. I think Damian pointed it rightly. How to make marketing through virtual sources so that they are visible and can sell products. And again, and they need to reach out to digital. To this capacity of digital clusters or clusters working in digital, in order to you have specialized services, specialized services of marketing, of virtual marketing, and this is new. So you need upskilling, reskilling for this. So we are in change, and clusters are in this constant movement of catching up with new solutions and reshaping. So I would put here emphasis as well on crossroads of all clusters in ecosystems to interfere and help the specific ecosystem, in this case retail. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You are very welcome, Marek. So we are just arriving to the closing time, but before, I want to stress the idea that we can link with you also for the proposals on the recovery plans. We are making proposals through our cluster networks. In fact, many of the proposals for the French Association of Cluster or Pôle de Compétitivité are included in the French plan, and we in Spain are working on the same way. And so we will encourage our cluster networks to link with you. As Marek said, we are working very, very strongly on digitalization, for sure, logistics, skilling, upskilling, reskilling, and we will encourage our clusters to explore possible projects with your area. Okay. And we are totally open to continue our dialogue with you. Okay, so don't hesitate, please, to look for new opportunities next weeks, or we don't need to go very far to explore what kind of projects are really priority for you, because I'm pretty sure that we could manage proposals from our cluster. Okay, meaning we think on I don't know, cybersecurity for small shops, we have expert for sure. We are cluster working on that, or improvement on the recycling of electrodomestics, for example. I don't know, circular economy. We can speak about that. So I am glad, because it's true that we have not been very linked with you, okay, but I am really glad to start speaking with you, and I want just to animate you to continue in this dialogue. Thank you very much, Paulina. Thank you very much, Damir, everyone, for attending today. We will record this record. We will publish it in the cluster platform, European Cluster Collaboration Platform. If you don't mind, Paulina, please send us one version of your slides that we could share, and we keep in contact. Have a very good weekend.
Thank you very much, and of course we will share the information actually with you happily.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Thank you.